Rupert, you just held a very interesting speech at the What's Next Forum 24. So let's go through some points. Slow, fast.
Yeah.
The chart.
Yes.
What about this?
So, my great-grandmother, I actually knew her, and she lived from, I think she was born in 1888, and she lived long enough to see the moon landings. But I think back to what I've seen in that same period. I caught the tail end of the moon landings. I saw the internet, and now AI. When I first saw the web, it was super exciting to me, and I knew it was going to change everything. I never thought I'd see something like that happen in my lifetime. And just seeing some of these compound changes come up one after the other. I don't think there's ever been a point of human history quite like this. And just from some of my speech, some of the events that happened in the last month, I don't know if there's been a month in human history like this, but it all seems to be happening now. SpaceX, the cyber cabs, some of the automation that's going on just now. There's no doubt in my mind that things are going faster than ever before. And that makes it a bit confusing for people as well, because where do you look? It's getting noisy out there. But if you don't like speed, you're out of luck, because it's only accelerating from here.
Let's jump into the age 1984.
Yeah.
What was the moment there, the movie?
Well, the movie itself was Terminator, but then you just saying 1984 to me, of course, just makes me think of this dystopian vision of a surveillance society where every television in the house has a camera attached to it, and we're kind of broadcasting ourselves to a Big Brother character. So it's an interesting combination of Terminator being distinctly dystopian, and I think that was very much the kind of vibe back then. But at the same time, there's other movies which I love. Star Trek took the alternative view that the future was going to be quite an exciting place, and I think I'm more of a Star Trek view than a Terminator view, because I think we're on the cusp of plenty. You know, the veritable cornucopia, this post-scarcity society, which, has been a champion in science fiction for many, many years. So as exciting as the movie Terminator was, I don't think that's the way the future will look. I certainly hope not. I think we're going to move to a more benign way. Now, I understand politics is looking a little distressing around the world right now in many, many countries, but there's just a general sense, if you go back a couple hundred years, what life was like for the common people. And my presentation,
So let's focus on the future of creativity.
Sure.
So you also have a past in the creative industry. Just maybe a few words about this. So your touch points with the creative industry.
Sure. So my background actually comes from a family of fine artists, and so I very much enjoyed art at school, and then subsequently it was a big part of my science. I was doing these botanical illustrations, which I loved. So when I saw the web, the combination I liked was the mix of the art and the technology, and I think that set me up for some very interesting conversations I've had in the fashion industry, the music industry, and architectural firms. They're super exciting businesses to be around, because they are on one hand very creative, but they have this technical underpinning as well. And they're really starting to get to grips with AI, and generative AI in particular, to kind of ideate concept sketches and to develop imagery a lot faster than they ever had before.
So what's your advice for the creative industry, also here in Switzerland, for creative people, what they should do now when it comes to AI? What's the most important thing?
Honestly, it's just to try it. A friend of mine coined this beautiful phrase. She talks about playful exploration. These tools are only intimidation when they're not being used. So it's such an incredible lever for the human imagination. I've heard of it as like a printer for daydreams. This idea that you can so rapidly explore ideas, and I think all creative people are idea generators at heart, and they find different mediums to explore those. But try Midjourney, to my mind, is one of the best of the text-to-image models. Text-to-video, Kling is available mostly for free just now. It's a great way to try some like visuals, and you can even put your own imagery from the text-to-image tools into them. So you can actually create, like people are making trailers for movies now and starting to make full-length movies. They're a little bit rough around the edges. They'll get better, but now's the time to hone your skills, because these will be very much in demand for the future, and it is the future of many creative industries.
So you have maybe a campaign in mind or a brand that's using AI in a very interesting or competitive way?
So I actually have a particular interest in the fashion industry, and there's a couple of case studies, one good, one bad for you. So the bad campaign was by Levi's, honestly, January in the year 2022, where they had announced this, they wanted to diversify the representation of their models. And so they ran a campaign using AI mixed race models. And of course, the internet went nuts about this, because rather than employing people of a mixed race, they were basically synthesizing them. So it was a horrible own goal on their part. But if you look now at companies like Mango, they actually launched a spring collection that people looked like surprisingly human, and they were using small budgets to create like high budget looking imagery at volume, and did a beautiful set for their spring summer collection for this year. I think Revolve have done it. G-Star have done some very interesting stuff. So fashion industry seems to be getting into this in really interesting ways.
You also presented your manifesto. Maybe 2 or 3 sentences about your manifesto.
Sure. Well, I can't take credit for that. There are people in the community that are very positive about the future of AI and the emerging themes that seem to come out for it. If we can hold this stuff like close to our hearts and really like be aware of the negative consequences, let's kind of put it through a filter of put it out there if it can reduce suffering in some way. And so medicine or personalized medicine is one great way of doing that. Can we increase prosperity? Can we actually share wealth in equitable ways in the future? And then the one as a scientist that really interests me is, can we increase our understanding of the universe? And there's some amazing new tools that help us do that.
A last advice from you for my community, for my readers, watchers, when it comes to AI, what's your most important advice you have?
I think the same advice is to the creators: just try this stuff. I went through a process of streamlining my life in interesting ways, and so what I decided to do is if I kept looking things up, I would write it down. So I'm using AI note-taking to help me kind of build this second brain, as it's called. But then if it's a task I find myself doing over and over again, I will automate it. So I try not to think about what the kind of basic input and output is. I think about it in terms of a workflow. So see if there are some workflows in the things you do on a regular basis, and see if you can use maybe a language model to kind of help you create written work, and then put your own stamp on it. Don't take that as a finished article, edit it down a bit. See if you can take that as an input into an image model. See if you can put that into an animation. So just play with it. That's the best way to learn these tools.
And what kind of culture we need that this can happen? You know, this trial and error. All are talking about this, but at the end, you don't know if you're gonna be punished if you fail. So, what kind of culture do you need?
Yeah, that's the failure thing is very interesting. I think a lot of kids are taught. We encourage them to doodle when they're kids, and then when they're a bit older, you start getting wrapped across the knuckles if you're not drawing very well. And we've got to get past that. Any great artist was a bad artist first. Every good singer was a bad singer in the shower to begin with. All it is practice and the ability to make entertaining mistakes. And sometimes, and I've tried to prompt images that turned out so different from what I was aiming for, but so much better than I thought they were going to be. And so there can be happy accidents and mistakes as well.
Rupert, many thanks for sharing these thoughts about AI.
My pleasure. Thank you.